Simkanzie, who is the Information Technology Officer here at the Securities and Exchange Commission. So we'll give it a few more minutes, maybe 3 minutes before we start the program, just so that we allow for more participants to join us. We'll have a video play while we wait. Thank you.
A smart investor avoids fraud. And here's everything you need to know about being a smart investor. A smart investor recognizes the benefits of planning for his or her future needs and goals, such as education, marriage, buying a car, or even buying a home. A smart investor recognizes the benefits of regular and diversified investments to protect investment from losses, unexpected events, and always looks before they leap so that they can cash in on the wonderful effects of compound interest. After all, a smart investor knows every investment opportunity is unique and should match their needs, goals, and risk tolerance while making sure to ask all the right questions. A smart investor is not under pressure to make hurried investments to avoid fraud. They know the risks and stay far away from get-rich-quick schemes while ensuring the company that they wish to invest in is licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commissions. So, what do you say? Do you want to be a smart investor? All it takes is cultivating resilience and wise habits. Remember, a smart investor avoids fraud. Visit sexzambia.org.com or our social media platforms today to start your journey to being a smart investor. A smart investor avoids fraud. And here's everything you need to know about being a smart investor. A smart investor recognizes the benefits of planning for his or her future needs and goals, such as education, marriage, buying a car, or even buying a home. A smart investor recognizes the benefits of regular and diversified investments to protect investment from losses, unexpected events, and always looks before they leap so that they can cash in on the wonderful effects of compound interest. After all, a smart investor knows every investment opportunity is unique and should match their needs, goals, and risk tolerance while making sure to ask all the right questions. A smart investor is not under pressure to make hurried investments to avoid fraud. They know the risks and stay far away from get-rich-quick schemes while ensuring the company that they wish to invest in is licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commissions. So, what do you say? Do you want to be a smart investor? All it takes is cultivating resilience and wise habits. Remember, a smart investor avoids fraud. Visit sexzambia.org.com or our social media platforms today to start your journey to being a smart investor.
Okay, thank you for that, Sichoni. So like I mentioned, today we're looking at protecting yourself from online threats. As the advert has just said, one needs to know, or for one to be a smart investor, you need to know how you need to protect yourself from the various forms of fraud that we have out there. You also need to know the investment options that are there for you. So, but before we speak about you being able to place your money in different forms of investment products that are out there, you first need to know how to protect yourself. And today we're going to focus on protecting yourself from online threats. Like I mentioned earlier, our presenter today is Mr. Clarence Simkanzie, who is currently an IT officer here at the Securities and Exchange Commission, where he's part of the team that handles all IT infrastructure. Mr. Simkanzie has a strong passion for information and communication technology, and his areas of interest include software development and cybersecurity. He graduated from the Copperbelt University with a bachelor's degree in information systems, where he was also the president of the ICT Association of Zambia student chapter. Before joining the commission, Mr. Simkanzie was a systems administrator at the ICT Association of Zambia. I'll now hand over to Clarence to take us through his presentation for the day. Clarence, good afternoon. Before Clarence just comes in, a few housekeeping rules. We'll listen to the presentation for the next 40 minutes, about 40 minutes, after which we're going to open up the discussion to your questions. We'll be able to take questions and we can interact. If you've got any burning questions during the presentation, you're free to post them in the chat section. Clarence, please go ahead and make your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you. It's really an interesting topic that we should all take interest into. Okay, so we're going to be talking about how we can simply protect ourselves from online threats that we face in this technology world. Okay, so just allow me to share my screen. Okay, and I'll just need some confirmation that somebody is able to see my screen.
We can see your screen, Clarence. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Right. So today we'll be discussing cybersecurity basics, best practices for secure online investing, and some resources that we can use to avoid financial data breaches. Okay, so just a quick run through of the agenda that we have today. So we'll obviously familiarize ourselves with the topic with an introduction. We're going to discuss ways to ensure safety while investing online. We're going to discuss some tools and strategies for preventing data breaches, financial data breaches, and we'll discuss confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and also the trade-off that exists between security and availability or accessibility. We're also going to discuss a general framework for implementing protection from online threats. And of course, we're going to end with a conclusion and a question and answer session at the end. Okay, so allow me to jump into it. So cybersecurity, online protection, you can call it anything, but otherwise we are still almost referring to the same thing. This is a very important topic because currently, you know, everybody is going digital, organizations are going digital, individuals are going digital, but then has improved ways in which we communicate, share information, and all. There are always risks that we encounter. So we're going to look at some ways in which we can avoid falling for these threats. Okay, so cybersecurity. When we say cybersecurity, what exactly are we talking about? So cybersecurity simply refers to the practice of safeguarding computer systems, network, and data from cyber threats. So it encompasses measures and technologies designed to prevent, detect, and respond to unauthorized access and data breaches, and also malicious activities. So cybersecurity, maybe in a very small, natural, and in a layman's perspective, I can say is simply this. So the way we have physical security online, we have cybersecurity. I think I'll put it easy in that way. Okay, so we're going to go straight into looking at some of the common attacks that we mostly successful to when we're online and we're making transactions online, we're communicating, sending different sensitive or non-sensitive information or data online. Okay, so we have our first example here. that is called phishing. So phishing is simply a fraudulent attempt to obtain sensitive information, such as usernames, passwords, and credit card details by posing as a trustworthy entity in an electronic communication. So an example of a phishing attack is an email claiming to be from a bank, requesting the recipient to update their account information by clicking on a malicious link. Okay, so you'll find these cyber criminals sometimes trying to pretend to be a certain institution so that they can just get certain information from you. Okay, so that's one example of online threats that we face online. The second one is malware. So malware is simply a short term for malicious software. And that simply refers to any software specifically designed to disrupt, damage, or gain unauthorized access to computer systems or networks. And mostly this malware is actually downloaded through, downloading pirated software. If I'm sure at least one or two people in this meeting would be trying to download some pirated games or so, and for that trap. So it's really important that we obviously know the legitimacy of the softwares and anything else that we are downloading to our devices. Okay, so a common type of malware is a computer virus. So a computer virus infects files and spreads to other systems when those files are shared. Okay, so that's why you find that some people are really strict on sharing information using flash disks and all, because they're scared that you might infect their devices. So another example is a Trojan horse, which appears to be a legitimate program, but contains malicious code that can steal sensitive information or unauthorized access. So this one is also a dangerous, somewhat I can say, because the thing is, computer systems sometimes are not able to recognize these Trojans. They see them as friendly programs, but then they are hostile. Okay, so that's another example. So we have about 3 more examples, then we'll jump into the next section. So we're now talking about ransomware, which is simply a type of malware that encrypts files on a victim's computer or network, rendering them inaccessible, and demands payment in exchange for decryption keys to restore access. So an example here, which is a very famous example, I'm sure 1 or 2 people in this meeting also have heard of this example before this presentation. So in the WannaCry ransomware attack in 2017, thousands of computers worldwide were infected and users' files were encrypted. The attackers demanded ransom payments in Bitcoin to decrypt the files. Organizations, including hospitals and businesses, were affected, causing disruptions to operations and financial losses. Okay, so let me put this into perspective. Let's say we have some files. Let's say we have some, maybe even pictures. Let me just make it as simple as that. Pictures on our devices. Let's say I have some pictures on my devices, some files, maybe work files and personal files. And then I wake up one day and I can't open these files because they are having a strange format. Okay. And every time, maybe let's say I attempt to open these files, there's a message that pops up on my screen to say I have to pay maybe 10,000 kwacha for me to have my files back. Okay, that's exactly what ransomware is. So these types of attacks, the attackers demand that you pay a ransom fee for them to decrypt your files. I'll use some terminologies that I might that I will explain when we get to the part where I have to explain. Okay, so another threat that we face online today is social engineering. But one unique thing about this threat is it does not always occur online. It can actually occur offline, in which we are going to see. So social engineering is the manipulation of individuals to trick them into divulging confidential information, performing actions, or bypassing security measures. It exploits human psychology rather than technical vulnerabilities. So this is exactly the point that we're trying to put across. So in a phishing attack, an attacker sends emails pretending to be from a trusted source, such as a bank or government agency, and asks the recipients to click on a link or provide sensitive information like passwords or credit card numbers. By impersonating a trusted entity, the attacker exploits the recipient's trust and gains access to steal or steal information. Okay. There are also times when there are people who are very good with psychology. Yeah? People would say something to you that would make you tell them your password to something without even realizing. So all that is part of social engineering. And surprisingly, it's very common, especially if we talk about the very and becoming mobile money fraud that is happening. You find somebody sends you a message and they say, I sent you money, and you have to send it back because you were not the intended recipient. And if you're very busy, you don't pay attention, you'll be able to just send that person back the money that they did not send you. So let's be aware. The last example that we're going to look at is insider threats. So this one mostly is concerned with organizations. So insider threats refer to security risks posed by individuals within an organization who misuse their access, privileges, or knowledge to compromise systems, steal data, or cause harm. So insider threats can appear in can occur in many ways. There are times when, let's say, you work for an organization, they've put security on your laptop, you find ways to break through that security and the organization is hacked. Those are the insider threats that we're talking about. So an example here says an employee with access to sensitive customer information may intentionally leak the information, that information to competitors for personal gain. That's another example. Alternatively, a disgruntled employee might sabotage company systems or steal intellectual property to retaliate against their employer. Somebody gets fired, they release certain information to the public or to competitors, because that's what this example is talking about. Okay, so we're going to have just a brief overview, overview of some of the basic security practices that at least each of us, even in our individual space, should take interest in implementing. These are not difficult things to implement. I would actually call them non-technical. Okay, so using strong passwords and unique passwords and also password managers. This one is actually a very strong point because we've all come across, or maybe some of us are actually victims of using one password across multiple platforms. Okay, so that makes our passwords not unique because we've used them on different systems, meaning that once one of the services that we access is compromised using our username and password, every other service that we've subscribed to will be compromised as well. Okay, so we have to make sure we have unique passwords, strong passwords, and use of password managers. I've seen people saving their passwords on their browsers. That is a little bit secure if nobody knows the password to your computers, but we also have other methods anyway. There are better password managers out there. And anyway, let me go to the second point. So enabling two-factor authentication for added security. I know a number of people who have Gmail or Facebook accounts or any other social media accounts. There are times when, you try to log in and you have to verify that it's you. So a PIN comes to your phone, you have to enter that PIN even after entering your password. So you're going to find that that at least adds another level of security. Even if somebody knows your password, they will not still get in if they do not have access to your phone or your messages or things like that. So at least there is another level of security. So very important. Two-factor authentication, if possible, you apply it on all your social media platforms, your emails, and that should give you some sense of security. One other thing that most of us actually overlook is keeping software, operating systems, and antivirus programs up to date to patch vulnerabilities. So in one of the future examples, we're going to see that there is an organization that was once hacked only because they did not patch their softwares. They did not upgrade a certain software that they were using. So that's why we encourage everyone, at least once in a while, keep your devices, the software on those devices, the operating system itself up to date to avoid falling prey to attackers that try to get through to us through these vulnerabilities. Okay, so fourth point, we have to be very cautious of suspicious emails, links, and attachments. It is a very bad practice to receive an email and immediately click any links in it, especially when you don't actually know where those links are coming from. Sometimes we'll be using your WhatsApp, somebody will send you a random link and you'll be there clicking that link, not knowing that you're exposing yourself to these attackers. You're actually taking yourself to these attackers. It's like you're just submitting your information to them. So let's make sure that we avoid not taking precaution, meaning we should take precaution anyway. So one last point, which is very important, and this one is actually very, very, very overlooked by so many of us, regularly backing up important data to prevent loss in case of a ransomware attack. Remember, we looked at the ransomware attack, which disables you from opening files that you have on your devices. Okay, so in case of such an attack, if I have a backup, I will just wipe my computer and replace it with the backup files that I have. So these backup files as well, they always need to be updated. You don't want to have a backup from 5 years ago, obviously. Okay. So next, just to stress a certain point here, we're going to look at the impact of cyber risk on the GDP of Zambia per sector. Okay, so this information is derived from the National Cyber Risk Assessment Report of 2022, where the Zambia Information and Communications Technology Authority it did a research on about 200 critical information system organizations. Okay, so if we put it into perspective, according to the report, the Zambian GDP is about 1,903,020,000 kwacha, around that figure. Okay, and the risk on the banking and finance industry goes up to about 2,351,000, somewhere there. So we can tell how much of risk actually exists, and especially if we add all these sectors together. A constant cyber attack on these services, aviation, water, education, and especially banking and finance would really feel the effect as a country. Hence, we need to, at least all as individuals and as citizens, be cyber risk aware. Okay, so moving further, we're going to have some two terminologies that we're going to use here. So we have threat vectors and threat actors. So threat actors use threat vectors to attack a victim. Okay, so the threat actors are the individuals and the threat vectors are the tools or ways in which the attackers do their attacks. Okay, so the most common vectors with regards to the banking and finance sector are phishing, malware, insider threats, and the supply chain. So here, supply chain comes in a situation where, since we're talking about banking and finance, let me give an example of Bank X. Okay, so let's say Bank X procures this banking system from a vendor who is malicious, okay, who maybe keeps on stealing information in the background without the bank actually knowing, okay? So these suppliers to the banking and financial sector who are actually would be attackers as well, okay? So this matrix just shows how the impact of each vector would be on the banking and finance sector. Okay, so the threat actors of concern now. So these are the individuals that use these tools to get to us. Okay, so these threat actors of concern in the banking and finance sector include cyber criminals and accidents to be the top two. Okay, so we can tell that there is a lot that happens just because of human intervention, of which we can't stop. We always need human intervention at within any sector, but mostly us humans are actually the weakest link. We can have very strong systems. We can encourage everybody to use a strong password, but we'll always have individuals who will not really follow these rules all the time, and organizations or even individuals themselves fall prey to cyber threats. Okay, so what is the potential harm done by threat vectors to these critical assets? So these critical assets. So we have phishing, we have malware with the highest percentage, we have insiders, supply chain, and other vectors, and the potential harm also done by these threat actors that were described earlier is also shown there. So I guess you can see we have cyber criminals being at the top of the list. Okay, so moving on, we're going to discuss secure online investing. We're going to have an overview of the risks that we face, which we've actually already started in this presentation. We're going to look at some notable incidents, and we're also going to look at some best practices we can apply for secure online investing. Okay. So online investing offers convenience and accessibility, but it also poses investors to cybersecurity risks, including account takeover, fraudulent schemes, and data breaches. Okay, so these risks can result in significant financial losses and damage to one's financial reputation. Okay, we've all heard of some stories, but we're going to talk about one that actually happened. So the 2019 Capital One data breach exposed millions of customer accounts to a hacker who exploited a misconfigured firewall. This might be a little bit of jargon right now, but we're going to look at what a firewall is. Let's just take note. So this incident raised concerns about the security of online banking and investing platforms, highlighting the importance of robust cybersecurity measures. So what are some of the best practices when we're interacting online, we're making online transactions? Okay, what are some of these, what are some of the best practices that we can just take note of, apart from what we've already looked at, like strong passwords and two-factor authentication? Okay, what are some of the other things that we can do to make sure that we're safe online? So the first thing here is to make sure that when you're investing, you're using a reputable brokerage platform with strong security measures, such as encryption and multi-factor authentication. I, for one, I'm not going to open an account which is going to have so much of my financial information on a platform that only uses a password and a username. Then you should question the security of that organization or that investment platform. Okay, there has to be some other form of security applied before somebody can access your account, before even you yourself can access your account, you should at least prove that you are the one trying to access your account. Okay, so the second point, which I've actually noticed, you would visit a public place, maybe a hotel, and people will be rushing to get the Wi-Fi password and everything to do anything that they want to do online. But these public Wi-Fi networks are actually not all that advisable, especially when it comes to making financial transactions. Okay, so you will be there trying to log into your bank, and your information is actually being tapped by someone before it actually even reaches where it is going. Okay, so avoid sharing sensitive information such as login credentials or financial data over public Wi-Fi networks or unsecured websites. Okay. Furthermore, regularly monitoring investment accounts for suspicious activities or unauthorized transactions. I'm sure for individual accounts, it would be very easy to notice that there's something funny happening, but for organizations, obviously, they would need the whole department of people to be making sure that these things are moving smoothly. So lastly, but not the least, provide specific steps, and we'll be providing some specific steps and tips for implementing these best practices effectively. But this time around, let's continue by looking at avoiding financial data breaches. Okay, so we're going to have the introduction to financial data breaches. We're going to also look at some notable incidents, strategies for prevention and implementation guidelines. So financial data breaches can have serious consequences, including identity theft, financial fraud, and reputational damage. It's crucial for individuals and businesses to take proactive measures to safeguard their financial information. Okay, so another notable incident here, of which we can all look up even later on, just to understand even more what happened in some of these incidents that we are looking at. At the end of the presentation, I've put some links where you can actually find these actual resources and the reports and what happened afterwards. Okay, so the Equifax data breach in 2017 exposed the personal and financial information of over 147 million people, highlighting the vulnerability of sensitive data to cyber threats. Okay, so how do we prevent these things? Because that's the core of what we are looking at today. Okay, we want to discuss multiple ways of how we can stay secure while being online and making transactions online and sharing different information online. So we can look at identity theft protection services that offer credit monitoring and fraud alerts. We can talk about data encryption tools and secure storage practices for safeguarding sensitive information. So I know I had mentioned the word encryption a bit earlier, but this is the time that maybe I explain what we're talking about when we say encryption. So encryption, the simplest way I can say this is encryption just makes sure that only the intended recipient will be able to understand the message. Okay, all the other interceptive recipients, those recipients that you weren't sending to but actually receive the message, will not actually understand what is going on, but only that intended recipient is the one that understands what's going on. So the data, when data is encrypted, it moves, when it's moving, it moves as jargon. Nothing can understand it apart from when it's received by the intended recipient. Okay, so security awareness training programs to educate employees and individuals about cybersecurity best practices. I know this is not a training program, it's a town hall meeting, but at least this is something that that we are doing. even right now. So the more we preach the word of cybersecurity and online protection, the more people get aware and the more they apply these good practices. Okay. So one example here. So when selecting an identity theft protection service, we might look for features such as real-time credit monitoring and identity theft insurance. Additionally, regularly reviewing our financial accounts and credit reports to detect any suspicious activities early. That's a key point, to detect suspicious activities early, because there is no point in obviously detecting a suspicious activity 1 year or months after it's happened. Okay, there is a lot of damage that could already be done by then. Okay, so moving on, we have a subtopic on confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So we're going to look at some definitions and examples and how we can balance security and availability or accessibility. I'll use those, I might use those words interchangeably in this presentation. So okay, sorry, just give me a moment. All right. So when we're talking about confidentiality, integrity, and availability, for confidentiality, what we are making sure is, and this is now in the context of data or information or computer systems. So we have three things: computer systems, information, or data. You can call it of that. So in the sense of confidentiality, here we're just making sure that only the intended recipients of the information or the owners of the information should be able to see that information. Okay. When we talk about integrity, we're talking about only authorized users being able to modify that information. So there is information which can be open to anyone in the public to see, but it should not be open to the public for anyone to edit. Imagine if anybody would just edit any of your information that they find anywhere. Obviously, that would cause a lot of unintegrated data. And then availability simply talks about are these computer systems or this information or data, is it available to the authorized individuals when it is needed? Okay, and with that definition, that's why now we are also talking about the balance between security and availability. Okay, in as much as we talk about security, we should also make sure that our systems are also available. I don't think we would want to implement security that is so tight such that when you urgently need data, you will still need to spend about 30 minutes entering passwords and all those things just for you to access your information. So we always have to make sure that information and computer systems are timely, available to the intended users without them being available to the unintended users, but also without wasting anyone's time. Okay, so that's exactly why these technologies also keep improving. I put this here because I thought this is actually a very important point to note. Depending on what you're protecting, you might need very tight security or not very tight security, but at least there should always be security, enough security. Okay. So I'm going to give some example of a general framework for cybersecurity. So I'm going to look at an overview of technologies and strategies, examples of technologies and strategies, and implementation, integration with business operations. Okay, so Might be a bit technical, but I'll make sure that at least everybody gets the gist of what is happening here. I remember mentioning firewalls before, and the time has also come that we're going to define what firewalls are. Okay, so I'm going to maybe let us imagine something. Let's say we have a yard, okay, that has some sensitive information, people, and everything. Okay. Now, and by the way, this is actually something that was used back in the day during the early wars. You would find that there would be these kingdoms that would set their war fences, very long war fences, on fire. Okay, such that enemies could not come close because of so much heat, and they could obviously not climb so that they can get into the kingdom yards, if I can call them that. So similarly, in this online environment, we've got such technologies that we call as firewalls, and they act in a similar manner. Okay, they act in a similar manner because if somebody is trying to access a network that is secured by a firewall, they will, at least most of the times, get bounced off. Okay. Apart from firewalls, we have intrusion detection systems. These are simply systems that at least alert you and carry out some mitigation strategies to prevent those attackers from getting into your systems, just a little bit similar to firewalls. But obviously, you would actually get notified about certain security incidents that happened in the near past. And oh, okay. So apart from that, we can talk about endpoint security solutions such as antivirus software and endpoint detection and response tools. So an endpoint, to just describe it in simple terms, if I'm not mistaken, all the devices that we're using, everybody in this meeting is an endpoint. Okay, we're either using a laptop or a phone. Okay, so these devices are basically categorized as endpoints. So you find that it's actually very important to have some security. Okay, especially for organizations, you find that they've actually put antivirus software on each computer that they own. They have some security, maybe blocking ports and all those things. So those are just simply strategies that at least allow organizations and even individuals to control at least the security on their devices. So encryption techniques to protect data at rest and in transit. Remember, we talked about what encryption is. So data has to be protected, whether it's just sitting on your device or you're sending it somewhere. At least it has to be protected all the time, unless it's public information. But data that needs to be protected at least should have some level of encryption. And even whether it is at rest or in transit. Okay, so security information and event management systems for centralized monitoring and analysis of security events. So it's just really important to know what types of attacks are you getting frequently and how you can prevent yourself from falling prey to such attacks. So many organizations use firewalls and advanced threat detection systems to monitor network traffic and identify and block malicious activities in real time. And these technologies provide a crucial layer of defense against evolving cyber threats. You know, as security improves, even the attackers also improve their tactics. Okay, sometimes it's the other way around. Attackers will discover a vulnerability in a software system or a computer system, and the people on the other side will make sure that that kind of an attack does not ever happen again by improving the security that they apply. Okay, so organizations and even individually, you know, we should develop some comprehensive cybersecurity strategies that include regular vulnerability assessments, employee training programs, and incident response plans. Okay, by continuously monitoring and updating security measures, organizations can stay ahead of cyber threats and minimize the risk of breaches, data breaches. Okay, so cybersecurity should be viewed as a business enabler rather than a barrier. By aligning cybersecurity goals with business objectives and involving stakeholders at all levels, organizations can effectively integrate security into their operations and enhance overall resilience. So in our conclusion, which will be concluding now, we've talked about different ways in which we face these threats when we are online communicating or transacting. We've introduced what cybersecurity is, what the examples of incidents that have happened over the years, of which we can obviously look for more examples even after this presentation, and as well as some of the resources here. I'm sure this should be shared later on after the town hall meeting ends. But for those that can even take a screenshot and all, you can do so and just try to read more. You can download the National Cyber Risk Assessment Report from ZICTA. You can see what exactly happened in the Capital One cyber incident and the Equifax data breach settlement here also from the Federal Trade Commission. Okay, so I would encourage everyone to at least implement certain cybersecurity measures in our daily lives, because I know for us to be able to join this meeting, we are online most of the time. We do a lot of things online. So let us make sure that as we are online, we are also secure. We can be secure physically, but be vulnerable online. Thank you very much. I'll now invite questions.
Okay. Thank you so much, Clarence, for that very educative presentation. Very insightful. We've learned quite a lot. I personally learned a lot, things I've never heard of, and very interesting to know. We have learned how we can prevent fraud, like he said. I mean, how we can protect ourselves from cyber crime and how we can be safe during our online investments. So as he's mentioned, we're now going to take some questions. I have some questions lined up in the chat. The first question says, what makes a good insider threat management plan? And what are some of the best practices to protect user and data privacy with regards to this threat? Clarence, could you take that one first?
Okay, could you just repeat the question for me, sorry?
So what makes a good insider threat management plan? And what are some of the best practices to protect user and data privacy with regards to this threat?
Okay, so one of the technologies that is actually used, especially to monitor these user insider threats, is on most systems, is mostly a log of what is happening and making sure that there are alerts when certain things happen. Okay, so let's say we have a system where we store sensitive information. Okay, and we have multiple users as an organization that access such systems. Okay, you'll find that it is very important in this case to make sure that almost each important action that is done on that system is recorded. Okay, and we obviously have various other tools that are implemented, such as maybe control of versions of software and documents, such that even if they are deleted or even if they are deleted or edited into what they were not, at least we're able to revert back to such. So that's just an example of some of the strategies that are used. But if we're talking about insider threat management, not all of it is technical. Some of it also relies on things such as user education. Okay, so without user education, if a user does not know how to keep themselves safe when they are online, even then the whole organization is not safe. So the more the users are educated, the more the safer we all become. Okay, thank you. Hope I've answered that question.
Yes, thank you, Clarence. The next question says, in your presentation, you mentioned that it's not very safe to invest in an online platform that does not have two-factor of authentication. I have noted that Lupia, one of the peer-to-peer lending platforms that is regulated by the SEC, does not have this security feature. What measures have you put in place to ensure that they implement this security feature? This question is from an anonymous attendee who allow our team that manages Lupia to give a comment on this. Do we have anybody from our supervision team, Team Lupia? So I take it this anonymous attendee is an investor, probably on the Lupia platform, and they've noticed that they do not have two-factor authentication, which was one of the tips that you gave in order to when you're making a safe online investment. Team Lupia, are you present?
Okay, maybe we can jump to the next question as we maybe source for somebody from market supervision.
Okay, so the next one is public Wi-Fi is widely used here in Zambia. Can you kindly reshare the specific tips for safety, for staying safe when using public Wi-Fi hotspots?
Okay, great. So first things first, we have to make sure that as we accessing the internet via public Wi-Fi, we have to make sure that we are not carrying out important financial transactions. Secondly, we have to we have to make sure that we are not using those public Wi-Fis to access services that are critical to us or the organizations that we belong to. Okay, because you would always need to log in, and that login information would be leaked. Okay, so I know there are many other examples that were given in the presentation that we are actually going to share. We'll try to share it timely.
Maybe I can jump in just to add more points.
Okay, Sydney, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Stelly. Okay, so as we've learned, there are a number of tips that can be used to secure or prevent malicious attacks as we use public Wi-Fi. One of them would be the use of VPNs. So VPNs are what is normally used to secure our communication as we use the public internet. So most institutions have invested in this, and that's one way that can be used to secure our use of public network. Another way is what has been talked about, the two-factor authentication. So we should always ensure that we use the two-factor authentication as we use it on what we may deem to be untrusted networks. Then it's always advisable to avoid the use of public internet, if I may put it that way. But if you are sure that your machines are up to date, your machines have got the necessary preventive tools, then you could proceed to make use of that public Wi-Fi. I think these are some of the few tips that I could share at this moment, Stanley.
Okay, thank you so much, Sydney. I hope that answers the question from our attendee. We have another question saying, good afternoon, nice presentation and following. A point you have raised about online investment platforms, which you have emphasized that the platform should have 2 or more levels of login authentication, not just one password and username. More security features must be used, like OTP. As SEC, you don't have any policy to compel these investment institutions under your watch to implement more security measures to invest? I take it this is a question. They're asking if we have a policy that compels investment institutions under our watch to take up this authentication, for instance. So for sure, a password and username aren't enough because they can be bypassed. So that's the question. Sydney, from the IT perspective, do we have a policy that speaks to this?
Okay, Stan, this looks to be directed to the market. Let's say the SEC to the market. But for our internal systems, I could confirm our systems do have multi-factor authentication. It may also happen that maybe some of these systems that are being talked about, the ones being used by the capital market operators, they may have multi-factor authentication, maybe just the aspect of enabling the feature. But I think that doesn't give the answer to the question. Maybe market supervision can respond as to whether the commission does have policies in place that compel the market to ensure that these security features are enabled on all platforms that are being offered to the market.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, I think there's actually a follow-up question to that, which is similar to what you just said. Lupia Mazunda says, what strategies have been put in place by the Commission to offer digital hygiene training to ordinary community members, especially that most of them use mobile money platforms for their transactions? And then if another one says, do we actually have an opportunity in Zambia to open and trade in securities online using online accounts? If so, how does one go about it?
Okay. So I think most of these questions, I think I can see are actually mostly centered on our market supervision team. Okay, so I don't know. I think maybe Stanley, you can advise if
okay.
Yes.
Okay. Ruben can comment. Ruben, you had your hand up. You can just give a comment to that. Sichuan, kindly unmute Ruben so that he can give a comment to Lupia as well as the last question.
Ruben, you can go ahead and talk.
Thank you very much, Sichone, and the two chairs for the wonderful engagement with the public. Yeah, I'm trying to give feedback on the question that was raised with regards to the two-way authentication for Lupia. So the commission position is that the market player is in a sandbox, in a regulated sandbox, and that's pretty much a testing phase. And when such an innovator comes into a market space, the system may be near or far away from perfection. And that's the more reason why it's being tested to see if it is fit for the purpose and for mass public consumption. And that's the more reason why it was tested for a period of more than 12 months. And in that period, we also get feedback from the public, which of course are you investors, to confirm on the efficacy of the system, and if truly it can be 100% rolled out for mass marketing. And one such feedback, of course, that we need to appreciate is like this one that you've given, which will definitely be taken note and be submitted with together with so many other recommendations that have been forwarded to make sure that a system is perfect for mass consumption. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruben, for that response. I think it's well said and well put. We have come to the end of our town hall. Unfortunately, our time has run out. We ran the town hall for an hour and it's now 16. So it's time for us to leave you. We thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for the interaction. Thank you so much, Clarence, for the wonderful presentation. Please make a date with us again, same time, last Thursday of the month, next month, where we'll have another interesting topic and share best practices in the market. So our key takeaways are what you can see on the screen right now. And for me, as Clarence put it, we should take note not to do any financial transactions on public Wi-Fi hotspots. Let's at least go away with that. Thank you so much, Clarence, and thank you everybody for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.